Our scripture this morning is a rather long one. There's a reason for this. It's because our theme for today, as you may have guessed, is order. So our scripture is taken from the book of Exodus, the 40th chapter, verses 1 through 30. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, On the first day of the first month you shall set up the tabernacle of the tent of meeting. You shall put in it the ark of the testimony, and partition off the ark with the veil. You shall bring in the table and arrange the things that are to be set in order on it, and you shall bring in the lampstand and light its lamps. You shall also set the altar of gold for the incense before the ark of the testimony, and put up the screen for the door of the tabernacle. Then you shall set the altar of the burnt offering before the door of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting. You shall set the laver between the tabernacle of meeting and the altar, and put water in it. You shall set up the court all round and hang up the screen at the court gate. You shall take the anointing oil and anoint the tabernacle and all that is in it, and you shall hallow it and all its utensils, and it shall be holy. You shall anoint the altar of the burnt offering and all its utensils, and consecrate the altar. The altar shall be most holy. And you shall anoint the laver and its base, and consecrate it. Then you shall bring Aaron and his sons to the door of the tabernacle of meeting, and wash them with water. You shall put the holy garments on Aaron, and anoint him and consecrate him, that he may minister to me as priest. And you shall bring his sons and clothe them with tunics. You shall anoint them as you anoint their father, that they may minister to me as priests, for their anointing shall surely be an everlasting priesthood throughout their generations. Thus Moses did, according to all the Lord had commanded him, so he did. And it came to pass in the first month of the second year, on the first day of the month, that the tabernacle was raised up. So Moses raised up the tabernacle, fastened its sockets, set up its boards, put in its bars, and raised up its pillars. And he spread out the tent over the tabernacle, and put the covering of the tent on top of it, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He took the testimony and put it into the ark, inserted the poles through the rings of the ark, and put the mercy seat on top of the ark. And they brought the ark into the tabernacle, hung up the veil, the covering, and a partition off the ark of testimony, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He put the table in the tabernacle meeting on the north side of the tabernacle, outside the veil, and he set the bread in order upon it before the Lord, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He put the lampstand in the tabernacle meeting across from the table on the south side of the tabernacle. And he lit the lamps before the Lord, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He put the gold altar in the tabernacle meeting in front of the veil, and he burned sweet incense on it, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He hung up the screen at the door of the tabernacle. And he put the altar burnt offering before the door of the tabernacle of the tent of meeting, and offered upon it the burnt offering, grain offering, as the Lord had commanded Moses. He set the laver between the tabernacle meeting and the altar, and put the water there for washing. Lord, we see that you command a very orderly place of worship for you, and offerings and sacrifices and actions that were to be taken by your servants, Moses and his sons. May we be mindful of this as we go about our lives nowadays, that you look for order. You are a God of order, and our lives should be ones of order. May we incorporate into our lives. So, amen. So the title of today's message is Order in the House. As we've just observed, we serve a God of order. He has a very particular way he wanted his tabernacle set up, which should be instructed to us. We are instructed in Corinthians, let all things be done decently in order. This is what God desires of us. So the question we should be asking ourselves is, how orderly is our life? Our lives can be ones where we've got so much stuff it gets in the way. We're so busy doing things, there's not enough time left in the day. The result of this, we're not making progress toward our goals. We maybe want you to accomplish something, but it's not happening. We're spending our time taking care of stuff, doing things that aren't important, not moving forward. So life may seem like a ball that never stops bouncing. This isn't the way God wants us to live, friends. As we see, God had order in his worship, his sanctuary. There's order in heaven. The judgment, of course, is very orderly. There are books that are going to be opened. There's a process, just like there is in courtrooms here on earth. So we should be looking at our home lives, our personal lives, our work lives, and asking ourselves, are these orderly as well? If not, then they're not really godly, and we're not living as well as we could. If we do things in God's way, we know that we'll get better results than if we do them man's way. So we have a choice. Are we following order or disorder? The default is disorder, because it takes It takes effort, it takes thought, it takes a little bit of planning to have order. If you don't do those things, if you just don't give a thought to it, the natural result is disorder. It just happens. The sanctuary at that point was a building, actually a tent. Remember that David was upset by this, and he said he wanted to build him a house, and God had his son do it, not David. But within that sanctuary there was furniture, and there's particular vestments or clothing which the priests were to wear. They were anointed. And notice all the washing, the water. There was a definite concern with cleanliness, which God expected of them. And of course, we should be mindful likewise when we come to worship God that we want our bodies to be clean and we want to dress in an appropriate manner. We are Protestants, and our services, of course, are in order. The focus of a Protestant service is the message or sermon. Music is also an important element, as we just listened to in our special music, and can be a major element in worship. And the congregation normally sings at least one hymn, but other than that, in Protestant congregations, usually not a lot of participation by the worshipers. Of course, there's prayer, or a number of prayers, and a collection of tithes and offerings. The Catholic services are roughly similar, but there are significant differences. Their form of communion, which they call the Holy Eucharist, is the heart of their worship services, which they call the Mass. Not the message, which is shortened and they refer to as the homily. And music usually plays a smaller part, but it can be very formal, very traditional. The congregants do participate. The Catholic worship service is organized by what they call a liturgy, which is a set of calls and responses which the priest or officiant calls out and the congregation responds. So it's very scripted, not as informal as in a Protestant service. A Protestant service can be a little bit free form, whereas Catholic services, at least for a particular rite, they'll all be the same in every church and in every service. And they take up a collection of offerings. They don't mention or focus on tithe. But again, there's an order. Families, of course, have order. God has created this from the beginning, with the father being the head of the household, a mother being a loving and a loved partner. Not when the guy's abused. Some guys do that. That's not biblical. The children who are to be obedient and trained in the ways of God. And there may be an extended family, particularly in immigrant families and countries and people in other countries and cultures where there are people from more than 2 generations residing in the home, and them extended relationships, all residing together as one family. And Americans, after being here a while, typically don't have such extended families. But there's order. There's a relationship between the different generations. The world that God has created is made of matter. Matter, if you study basic physics, consists of protons, neutrons, electrons, which are organized in different forms of matter. Yes, we are aware that physicists have subdivided these elements into smaller elements, but we're not going there. And out of these basic elements, God has created all basic particles. God has created all these different elements. So we have everything from hydrogen to uranium and other heavy elements, all made from the same basic materials that God has arranged in different ways. But there's order to them. The protons don't run around electrons. No, electrons run around the protons and neutrons in the center. That's the order that God has created matter. And no matter where you go in the universe, you'll find this is the order. So all these atoms make up matter, and various combinations of matter make up the heavenly bodies. Our solar system is the sun in the middle, planets rotating around it, and around many of the planets there are moons. The Earth has one, Saturn has several. This pattern is repeated throughout God's universe. And these solar systems like ours, and in different combinations and sizes and specific arrangements, are organized into galaxies. Again, many galaxies take the form of a spiral, as we see illustrated here. And the universe is made up of many galaxies. Here we see a visualization of the universe. We see it's rather circular. We note that many of what appear to be points of light, to be stars, are actually distant galaxies. They're extremely large, but because of the enormous distance, they appear to be small. In contrast to this orderly systems that we've been talking about here, there are asteroids and meteorites which do not follow these neat patterns. They have orbits of their own, which may clash or collide with those of solar systems. Astronomers tell us that this Earth and its moon, and as well as other heavenly bodies, have suffered damage when struck by meteorites and asteroids. It shows what happens when things don't follow orderly patterns. It results in damage. We see that heaven is a place of order. We read in Revelation that the city lieth foursquare. The length is as large as the breadth, and is measured the city with the reed 12,000 furlongs. The length and breadth and the height of it are equal. So if all three dimensions are the same, this is a cube. Perfect cube, like a sugar cube. And they measure the wall there of 144 cubits, according to the measure of man, that is, of the angel. So here we see that heaven is orderly to the point of being a perfect cube. Now, in our personal life, we should also find order in our work, our family responsibilities, the way we care for ourselves and our body. And we should be caring for a home and a property and for others. So the question we should be asking ourselves is, how do you start your day? Do you start with order or disorder? For example, which side do you get up out of your bed? And not that that's an important thing or makes a difference one way or the other, but normally you know this. It's not a random thing. You have a pattern you start your day off with, and then you go to dress, you bathe, you groom, you eat breakfast. You have some sort of regular pattern or system to it. In your home, you may find you have too little stuff. Some people don't have much furniture. They don't have money maybe to buy proper clothes. They're very poor families that don't have beds to sleep in. I've known houses where the mattresses are on the floor. The people lack. But for many people, particularly in America and modern society, our problem is too much stuff. We're packed with stuff, more than we need. This is a problem. The rich young ruler, remember when he went to Christ and he was emphasizing his good behavior, which looked very good from an exterior perspective, but Christ could see into his heart and could see they had a problem. And the problem was a great possessions. And what happens when you have too many possessions? You end up spending too much time caring for them and protecting them, and you don't have enough time and focus for other people, for other things, which is where God wants our focus to be. So we end up with the modern society situations like this where people are renting storage containers or rooms. They got so much stuff they can't keep it at home. Maybe the garage is overflowing. There's stuff in there instead of cars. So people rent spaces to store their extra stuff. This may be necessary times, for example, if one's moving and there's an interim housing while you're waiting for your home to be constructed or something like that. But most of the time, we should be avoiding this. We shouldn't be collecting all this stuff. So why is the pile so high? Why do people have so much stuff? Well, laziness is one reason. It's simply easy to put things off until later. Instead of dealing with it, we just stack it somewhere. Or we're in a hurry. We think it'll take too much time. But if you think about it, if you deal with it later, it takes more time. Because you have this thing, well, what are we going to do with it? Well, first we've got to get to recognize it. You think back, what was supposed to happen to it? What you intend to use it for? And then you have to start the process again. Well, what should I do with it? It takes a lot longer to do it later than do it sooner, but it's much easier to procrastinate. And we have indecision at times, like, what do I do with something? Where do I put it? I have that problem sometimes. As you see, there's some files here. Where do they go, or what does something go? Sometimes you don't know. Well, sooner or later, you got to make a decision. The longer you wait, the bigger the pile gets. There are different types of decisions we need to make in order to deal with these situations, like what do you do with it? Where you put it? Do you even need it? Are you ever going to use it? If it's not usable, when will it get repaired? There's a microwave hiding in this room, but nobody's probably ever noticed. I know it's there. It's broken. I believe I know how to fix it. But it hasn't happened. I don't think it's going to happen because there are too many other more important things to do. So next time I go to the junkyard, it's going with me. These are decisions we need to make, because if it's not going to actually happen, you don't need broken stuff. You don't need to collect it. So how do you make decisions? Most of us do it by what we feel like, but what we really should do is make the decision based on what's going to get the best results. And the easy answers usually aren't the best ones. The bottom line here with our focus today is, will the decision lead to greater order or disorder? If it's leading to disorder, that's probably the wrong decision. Another problem we have is being willing to give up things. Why won't we give it up? Why are we holding on to it? Some things that we can see are usable, maybe we can give them away. And if so, then we should be looking for a good destination, a place that can use it, or a person can use it. Sometimes you can give it direct to someone. You have a spare extra piece of furniture, someone needs it, or someone needs a chair, whatever it may be. Many times you don't, so we have to look for some alternate ways to get rid of usable items. There may be flea markets, churches have bazaars. Somebody can just put a sign on the front line of the curb, or leave it out there. Maybe it has value. You can take it to Simon Shop or sell it on Craigslist. But ways to get rid of the extra stuff. Order in your house. In your house, do you know what goes where? Do things have a place? Do things and places have uses? You have some houses have what you call a mud room, so you know the dirty stuff goes there. The dirty boots go there. The work clothes go there. You have some sort of system. If you don't, then disorder is going to take over. One question we should be asking ourselves as we're trying to get order in our lives is, what is your ideal home like? For some people, always want to be ready for guests, so they want things spick, span, perfect, tidy. It's not the only way to live. Some people want a house that's more casual, comfortable, well lived in. And people come in and everybody's comfortable. They don't worry about smudge somewhere, or I'm allowed to sit in this chair. It's different styles. It's not right or wrong, but there's some sort of order, ideal that the owner of the house wants. And if your house is well organized, you accomplish that. Or you may have a particular purpose. Some people are interested in things like a guy might like a workshop or a garage because he works on a car, and so there's space for that. There's tools. Or the woman may like a sewing room, or likes to cook a lot, so she has a large kitchen and it's organized, there's an appropriate appliances and whatnot. A well-organized home has a focus to how the people live on it want to live, and the things that they do. But there can be signs that your house isn't really the way you want it to be. For example, you get up in the morning, you can't find your keys, you can't find your shoes. If this happens once in a while, that's life. If it happens all the time, something's disorganized. You need to find a place where you put your keys, you put your shoes, so you can find them when you want them. Well, let's say, for example, you go out to dinner sometimes because the dish pile is so big, you've got nothing to eat on, you don't want to face it. Well, maybe it's time you get a dishwasher and start doing something about this. Or maybe you buy stuff to decorate the home, but you didn't think about it, and it's the wrong color. It won't match with what you got. So what are you going to do with it now? Take it back to the store, throw it on a pile? Or maybe there's just no place for it. You got enough of this stuff already. You don't need it. Or maybe you're always out of time to do anything because you always got to clean up. Before you can do anything, you got to clean up. There's more signs. You buy craft supplies or whatever. You never use them. You like it, you think about it, but you never get around doing it. So why are you buying more? Or maybe you already got some. You can't find them when you need them. The kids got a project. You know you got it. Yeah, but where is it? So in desperation, you buy some more, or things don't get done. Or maybe you got so many clothes, many of your clothes are dirty, you're nothing to wear, and you see an ad. Hey, there's something cheap. It looks nice. You go out and buy it, adding to the pile instead of dealing with the situation. Where you drop stuff in the counter, you leave it. I mean, I do that sometimes. I mean, I leave stuff needs to get filed, and I'm honest with you, it needs to go away. I'm busy. It hasn't happened. It needs to go somewhere, and sometimes because you don't know where to put it. Well, sooner or later, you got to make a decision. Taking charge is what you need to do. One system for dealing with this is an acronym of SMART. You need to set some goals. The goals need to be specific. You're going to do a particular thing. It can measurable. You know, it's this pile. It's something you can actually do. It's within reason. It can be done. And there's a time frame. Say, well, someday I'm going to do this. No, it's today I will do this. You need to focus on something specific. And then you need to take some specific steps about it. We have been reading and hearing many times recently about triage, wherein sick people are categorized into 3 categories. The ones are going to live, whether you treat them or not, because their condition is rather not so serious, it's fairly minor. Those that you can treat and make a difference, and those that, hey, can it make a difference what you do? They just make them feel a little better. They're just going to die anyway. And people like that, they're saying nowadays, if they run out of sufficient space, they may go to the hospital. They're just going to push them over somewhere and, feed them and try to make them feel better. But, hey, they're going to croak. They're going to croak. But we can use a similar type of thought process dealing with this extra stuff in our lives. Some things are worth keeping. We should keep. We use. We need. We appreciate them. Some other things that we don't, if they're good, we can give them away. If they're not, trash day's coming. And what's left, we need to organize. You need a system so you can find what you need when you need it. The rest of the stuff, give it away, to donate it or out to refuse. So we need to ask ourselves, where are your decisions taking you? Are they taking the direction of more order or disorder? Are you achieving goals or are you failing to move forward? If you fail to move forward, one big reason may be because you're not focused. Your life is, too much of your life and time is tied up with stuff that isn't important or necessary. So at the bottom end of this, are you happy with your life? Or maybe embarrassed because you lack of progress? You're not going anywhere. Your life is cluttered with stuff. You're cluttered with things that you're doing that are unimportant, maybe unnecessary, not meaningful. You need to weed out activity as well as things. And our life should have some sort of intentionality, not just randomness, whatever happens, happens. Your life should reflect that. You're doing something with it. You're going somewhere. When you look at your home, does it help you facilitate living your dream? Or is it holding you back because you got too much stuff to do? You got this stuff that has to be done, this stuff that has to be done, stuff in the way. There's barriers, obstacles, hindrances to what you want to do. Well, start getting rid of them so you can start making progress. And maybe you can't find materials. Stuff's buried somewhere, and that's embarrassing. You know you got something. You spend a lot of time looking for it. Matter of fact, in modern offices, it's said that one of the biggest time wasters is people looking for things. Where was it filed? Don't know, can't remember. We should be asking ourselves questions about space. Is there enough space to do what you want to do? Or maybe stuff is in the way. If the stuff's not being used, think about getting rid of it. So we should ask ourselves, do you love what you have? If you don't love it, if it's not meaningful to you and you don't need or use it, why do you have it? Maybe it's possessing you instead of you possessing it. Okay, there's some ideas for decorating. Practice restraint. You can get carried away. This is more of a women thing than a man thing. How much can you do? At least at one time, not but so much. So getting a whole bunch of new stuff, you're really going to do all the curtains? Maybe. When? Put things together. Things that are of a particular type, put them together. Whether screwdrivers or buttons, organize it. And streamline and unify. Try to get things in one, some sort of central area so they're not spread out too much. Sometimes you have things that you end up collecting that are taking up space. Maybe you can use them for something. For example, we have containers of nuts or snacks or whatever. They come in these nice little square or sometimes round containers. We found they're very useful for putting screws or small objects in, instead of just tossing them out. But it helps organize. And you need to leave a little breathing room, a little bit of vacant space. If every place is covered up from end to end, don't look around here and embarrass me, please. You can't do anything. I had to make room for this laptop. There was stuff there. Okay, and we need to simplify. Sometimes going small instead of big, or be more selective. Choose what you're going to do. There may be lots of activities that you're tempted to do, things you're interested in. You can't do everything. You can't, like, for example, you see an organ there. I love to play that, spend time at. I can't do it. I have to focus on worship. Someone else is going to have to be a musician. No matter what I think or like, I'm only one human being, and I've had to make a decision. Hey, okay, someday. In the meantime, I can't do it. You may have to make similar decisions to focus. Sometimes less can be more. And after a while, too many decisions, your brain just fogs out. You can't deal with more. What happens to many of us nowadays, there's so many gadgets. You can fill up a kitchen with gadgets. You can fill up a workshop with gadgets. And after a while, you hardly use many of them. Some of them don't get used for a long time. And when you finally come time to use it, well, how do you use it? You don't remember. But that can happen in electronic sense too, with apps on your phone, with programs on your computer. You get all these things. I get a whole gang of them here. I ain't touched some of them in a long time. You don't have to get rid of them, but it's just a little icon on the screen. But things that are actual physical objects in your home that are taking up a bunch of space, maybe you need to get rid of them. And on our computers, there are all sorts of distractions that they're constantly coming up because they want you to click, they want your eyeballs because they want to show you an ad because they get a little bit of payment for it. But you could waste a whole lot of time then. You get nothing done. You've been there for an hour, eating up an hour. Okay, you've seen a few cute pictures and a whole bunch of stuff that really doesn't matter to you. You got nothing done. A lot of things in the world are manufactured to waste their time. We need to make a decision. No. It's attractive. It looks interesting. We got to start saying no. So we need to simplify our homes. Many of us do, which starts with avoiding the stores and the ads because you're going to be tempted more. Stop complicating your life. There's too many choices, too many options. Get it down to a few basic things. You do this or you do that, and cut out the complications. When you make decisions, think about the simple things. For example, you got a food processor in the kitchen. Well, unless you're into cooking and you use the thing, and if it's sitting there for 2 years and haven't used it, and you could use more space on the counter, maybe it's time to donate it. Decisions to be made. Sometimes making to-do lists and goals helps you keep your focus. I do that many times. And when in doubt, throw it out. But you don't want to toss or throw it out. But if it's a burden, time to get rid of it. There's something hidden so long, maybe it had some use to you, gave you a little bit of joy at one time, but it's been buried so long you don't even notice the difference, and I can talk about some stuff elsewhere. It's time to go. There's some things that we have emotional attachment to. We love them, we use the memories. We can keep a reasonable number of those. But sometimes when we look at something, we say, well, would I buy this again today? Well, if not, why do you want it? Or maybe it belongs to somebody else. If it doesn't belong to you, maybe it should be someone else's possession. Do you know why you have it? Is it broken? Oh, we talked about that. Maybe you need the space or other things. All good reasons to reduce what you got. And one place this starts at is at the store. Before you bring the thing home, maybe there's a simpler way to deal with it. Maybe you don't need it now. I've asked that question myself like that because, I love tools. I use tools. Gotta stop and, is it really needed? And what happens if you don't get it? What will life be like? It might not be a whole big difference. Will it last a long time? Are you going to use it very often? Will it last or break quickly? Children's toys and some cheap electronic gadgets are in this category. They don't last very long. They get broken quickly, so why spend a bunch of money on them? Some things take a lot of care and maintenance, like printers. Printers are nice. but they're always eating ink. The ink costs money, and they're trying to sucker you big time. An ink refill for this thing for one color, brand name, you can break $100. When I was desperate one time, that's how much Staples charged me. Get the generic stuff, fraction of the price. Still costs money. You need to print, but think about the long term, what it's going to do to you. And some things may be quality, they may be worth buying. Some stuff is just a cheap deal and really isn't worth it. It may not cost so much, but do you want it in your house? And again, there's a learning curve. Some things take a long time to learn to use, like an electronic sewing machine my wife has. Forever trying to get any work done with the thing. It's just too complicated. And sometimes you need it. You buy something, it needs assistance, you need insurance, you need tools to take care of it. It just gets so complicated. And then whenever it gets lost or breaks, you got all this money invested and it's down the drain. You have space for it? Is it worth spending the money? How about your personal history? You see this advertised for an exercise machine, it could be a rowing machine or whatever. Will you actually use the thing? I mean, think about, your personal life, what you do, what you've been doing. If that's going to require a big change, maybe you shouldn't be expecting that big change of yourself because you ain't been doing it. You ain't going to start now. Be realistic about yourself. Maybe you got something similar already. You got one. Do you need another similar? Probably not. Or maybe you just borrow it. There's some habits we can use in our life to be organized. First of all, make the choice to be organized. Break your emotional attachments to stuff. You can love lots of stuff, but you can't have but so much stuff. And make decisions. You got to do it now. Stop procrastinating. Start the day with organized. Have simple systems to organize things. Stop making excuses, and start implementing solutions. And delegate. You don't have to do everything. Someone else can do it. If the other family members, maybe these tasks can be spread around. Keep surfaces clean. I'm embarrassed to say that. Keep papers organized. So bottom line is, know what you want to do. Have a focus or purpose. And stop wasting time on meaningless, unnecessary tasks. Martin Luther King had said one time, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. Can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward. Well, that's what we need to do, friends. We need to keep pushing for more order in our lives. It's natural and simple that disorder will prevail, that there'll be clutter, but it doesn't have to be that way. In families, just some tips. Limit your kids' stuff. It's easy, and many times parents buy stuff for the kids, and after a while get all sorts of toys and stuff, and you can end up with a terrible lot of clutter, all these little pieces piled up and mixed together. Cut it down. Not so much stuff, not so many little pieces. Life is easier. If you got duplicate items, get rid of one. I end up with duplicate books sometimes. Second book either goes back or it goes in a pile. Why do I need two books of the same? Unless I'm going to gift it to somebody, which something else I need to do. Everybody in the home should have tasks that they do. Work should be split up somehow. And everybody needs to know where things go. If shoes go here and coats go there, it should be known and understood by all family members. Success in life is not running faster, working harder, and catching pieces. It's focus, using your time and energy to be productive, conserving time and energy for what's important. And multitasking isn't really that efficient. You have to do it sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. If you're really not paying attention to the first task, then you can do a second task, like doing something while you're on hold on a telephone. But you can't really give good attention to two different things at the same time. When you're doing too much of that, it's a bad sign. So you need to have limits on ourselves. What you can do, how much you can have, where you can put it. Remember, storage containers are for organizing, not hiding clutter. People do that. Just get one container, fill it up, get another, fill it up, stack them all up, and all this stuff has not been dealt with, and most of it's not needed. Proverbs tells us, through wisdom a house is built, and by understanding is established. By knowledge the rooms are filled with all precious and pleasant riches. Notice how those rooms are filled. Can we say that about our homes? If not, we're not following the wise counsel the Bible gives. Grace is a very interesting topic with a multitude of meanings. So let's look at a few of them. A simple elegance, refinement, or movement. A controlled, polite, and pleasant way of behaving. Thoughtfulness towards others. Behaving in a polite way in social situations to free and unmerited favor of God and bestow blessings, one we most frequently use. An act of instance of kindness or courtesy or clemency, like what a cop might give you instead of giving you a ticket. A charming or attractive trait or characteristic, a pleasing appearance or effect. Something's graceful. We want more grace in our lives. Having these type of qualities will make us much nicer, more pleasant, happier people. And when we have these tasks to do, you finally got to deal with it. You can make it more pleasant. You put on some nice music. Maybe there's a nice aroma or something like the smell. Sip a beverage, get comfortable. Just get yourself in the mood. Psych yourself up, whatever it is. Do what you got to do. And stop saving this stuff for the perfect occasion. You have something you're saving for perfect occasion. Why not enjoy it now while you're doing something you really don't like to do so much, like clean up the clutter? Stop procrastinating. Stop pushing stuff from one room to another. Just get on with it. Make the decisions. So the question I'd like to leave with you today is, what do you need to get organized in your life? What do you need to do? You may have a collection of junk you need to clean up. I got some files I need to put away. What about your direction and focus? What are you doing with your life? How are you spending your time? Things to think about to be organized, which will make your life much better and more godly and happier.